Welcome to Therapy is Dope with Alicia.
And Julie, let's make self help fun again. No, seriously, laughter is the best medicine.
Come and join us as we introduce new ways of thinking and being.
And hopefully get you laughing along the way.
What's up, guys? Julie
We're
just, sorry. Julie just was reading the title of today's episode, which is Fish. And of course, that sounds very confusing. So thought we would start with her explaining what that is about.
we're like pescado, salmon. What do you mean? Grilled, fried? Not that fish, guys. But I was just talking about an analogy. So basically, if you're looking for a job or looking for a husband or someone to date or whatnot, right? If you go in with this analogy of fishing. So imagine I'm about to go fishing and I say, hey, if I go fishing, I better find a fish that's yellow with green stripes, purple dots, 3 pounds, 9 inches, and that's it. If I don't catch that fish, I'm not fishing ever again, or I'm going to throw every single fish back until I find that fish. There are trillions of fish. You can't say you're going to only do something if it fits exactly this parameters. For example, if I say I want my dream job, I want to wake up one day and say, you know what I want to do? I want to be a director of the hospital. You can't just go in and be like, okay, I'm going to be a director or nothing else. It just doesn't really go that way. Or I'm not going to deal with this at work. I don't want drama. I don't want to do the tedious stuff. I just want to do what's fun. You can't really do that.
Yeah.
Or you can't show up on your first date in your head in a wedding dress and go, you are the one, buddy. Can't do that either.
That one cracked me up.
It's like,
Yes.
so it's hard. We have plans, right? Don't we have plans in life? So it's like, which plan do we do? Do we make specific plans like that? If we don't have plans, we have no direction in life. So where's that happy medium?
Yeah, and I do think that, of course, do you remember? I don't even know if the commercial still exists, but there was the commercial with the easy button.
Yeah.
And like you just press that and you get whatever you want. And of course, like I think we'd all like to have an easy button and just like go directly to wherever it is we want to go. But I don't really think that that's how life goes. And it reminds me of a conversation I was having with a client recently where she was like debating whether or not she should move in with her boyfriend. And one of the things she said was, if it fails, people are going to be like, see, you shouldn't have done that. And I said, well, the problem is you don't know if it's going to fail. And so you have to try it and see if it works.
Yeah. I think, and also, I also think there is we're a little bit on naive thinking that we know things, right? So even like a teenager, they go, oh, I know how that's going to be. I know how that's going to be. They don't really have the experience. And when you're in that position and you're in those person's shoes or in that, whatever it is, then you'll know. I think there's a lot of life that you have to experience to know. Even having kids, for example, like Alicia, we actually talked about this earlier, but you said you always wanted to have kids, right? But then after having kids, you're like, oh, so this is how it feels to have kids. It changed, bad or good or whatever. It's a different experience than what you imagined, right?
Right. Very different.
And we all play house when we're younger, so we're like elementary and we play house and we're frying fake eggs and whatever. So that's as much of experience we have with house.
Yeah.
It's very different reality.
I even remember once I had a boyfriend who lived kind of far away and I only saw him on the weekends because of that. And I was like, we're so great together. We never fight. Everything's wonderful, but like our entire relationship was basically a vacation because we never even lived in the same area. So every time I went to see him or he came to see me, it was like, okay, we don't have any responsibilities. Like we're just hanging out together. It's a vacation.
Yeah, we're on a week here right now, and I totally imagine because that's what a lot of people describe when let's say if you're, even if you're in a cheating relationship, people call it a fantasy relationship because it's not real. Like the
Yeah.
rules of regular relationship don't apply. Just like
Mhm.
when you're doing your weekenders with your ex, those regular rules don't apply because you're like, I'm on vacation, so you automatically go in vacation mode all of a sudden too. You go,
Yeah.
it's gonna be both of you
Yeah.
guys gonna be fun, being fun.
It is fun. It's so fun. It's easy. But yeah, so we basically what we're saying, I think, with the fishing thing is that you have to go through the tough stuff. You
Yeah.
can't just press the easy button and get the quick fix, I guess you could say. And I definitely agree with what you're saying about particularly the workforce that like in my field, for example, you have to get licensed. And when you're in the in between stage of uh you just graduated from graduate school and you're trying to get a job, but you're not licensed yet, there's very little options for where you can go. And those jobs are usually not that great. And it's just one of those things that you have to do in order to get licensed. And I think doctors go through something similar. Like you got to do residency where you're basically someone's bitch, pardon my language. And there's no way around that. You have to go through that. So I think we all would like to be able to skip over all that, but that's the character building stuff. That's where we really learn a lot.
I agree with it. That's the one place where you actually, when you go through that and you have that sense of accomplishment, it builds self-worth, self-esteem, self-belief. And I've gone through a lot of, like, even dating, right? I've dated a lot of people. And I've wanted to catch that one green fish with the purple dots and the blue stripes. I wanted that so bad, right? And I kept throwing fish back. Like, really, honestly, I look back, I go, man, some of the fish was great.
Should have held on to that one longer.
Where is it, guys? And I kept throwing it back because it wasn't that one specific fish. But sometimes, and sometimes you put in the other side of it. Once, let's say you do catch that fish, sometimes it's not as great as you think it is.
That's the
Right?
truth too.
It's
Yep.
in your hands. You're dating this person. You go, oh my God, in my head, you're much better than who you are right now. But you signed up for your in your mind. You signed on the line, right? Where you committed to this person. You wore that wedding dress in your head, and you did all this stuff. And you go, this person is fine, so I'm not going to break that promise to myself. That's a problem that I kind of have.
Yeah, I think we do that a lot where we decide it has to be this way, and if it's not this way, then it's just not going to work. I think it's interesting though because you and I are always talking about what's on the flip side. And particularly with relationships, I feel like people say like you should make a list of all the qualities that you want in someone and like don't settle until you get that. But I know for myself, I had a list. Um, and when I met Sebastian, I may or may not have tossed a few of those items off the list because I was like, I really feel strongly about this one. And I don't regret tossing those items off the list, but
I need to know. I don't know. I don't know if you remember, but what was on your list? Do you remember?
oh yeah. Um well, the thing that I tossed off the list was having a college degree because Sebastian doesn't have a college degree. And
Okay.
he was like this close to getting it, but then just was like, fuck that. Oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. He was like, forget this, I'm not doing it. And when we first got together, I really tried to push him to go to college. And he told me several times, he like sat me down and was like, stop it. I'm not going back to
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
college. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, that probably belongs on one of our previous episodes, but that's true.
But do you know what it was? I wonder, you wanted him to go to college for you, not for him, because you wanted to say, my husband or my boyfriend went to college, right? You wanted to do that for you, no?
It wasn't just that. I think it was like what we were talking about, like being attached to your list. And I was
Mm,
attached to that, and that felt like it was really important. But ultimately it really wasn't that important. And how he treated me was much more important. And what kind of parent he is much more important. And, there's plenty of things you can do without a college degree. Not that I'm encouraging people not to get educations, but, I don't think you have to go to college. I really don't
Yeah,
anymore. I don't think it anymore. I used to.
I agree with that because nowadays people, if you have the entrepreneur spirit, sometimes the college setting doesn't make sense or the classroom setting doesn't make sense. You thrive so much bigger. You think about, Bill Gates. I don't think he graduated high school
I have
or
no
big.
idea.
I know that when he was at like 13 or something, and I might be, I don't, misinterpreting this, but when he was 13, he would sneak into a college campus to play with their computers because back then nobody had computers. And he would play with it all night, sneak back in the morning, go to school, and just be dead at school and get D's and whatever because he didn't care. And then at
Ah.
night, sneak out, like go to the computer again and play with it, blah, blah. Look at him now, So it's like, I don't think it's for everybody,
Yeah.
uh, but I also are not discouraging people to do it either.
I remember reading an article that Elon Musk took the requirement for college out of his hiring process for Tesla because he was like, some people are really talented engineers and they never went to school for it. And that's the
What?
truth. Some people are just mechanically minded.
Oh yeah,
And college isn't necessarily a measure of how intelligent a person is. So, there's a lot of options out here, but the point is I was really attached to that list and I was like thinking, well, this is one item that I said I didn't care about, so I'm going to push for it.
yeah,
And then Sebastian was like, no,
no.
don't do it.
But at the same time, there is a level of goal setting that I think is healthy,
Hmm.
and I guess everything in moderation. I think there's a good. It's good to go towards a direction in your life, but if it doesn't work out and you've learned from it and it's made you stronger, it's made you smarter, it's made you have better, it's encouraged you, encourage your self-esteem, then that was not a waste of time. And I do want to bring that up when it comes to people, feel like they wasted their 2 years or 3 years or 10 years in a job or 2 3 years in a relationship. Because if you leave that relationship or you leave that job and you look back and you go, oh wow, I really learned from that. What did you get from that? That wasn't a waste of time.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I do hear people say that. I don't know. I think you and I might be similar in the sense that I don't really have regrets. I have things that I like cringe about when I think about things that I did, but
Yeah.
but do I regret it at this point? Like no, like it didn't matter. It doesn't matter. So, I don't really have a lot of regrets, but I know people that I work with regret so much stuff and they feel like, "Oh god, I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done that." And I feel like that's looking at our failures in the wrong way. Like, what did you learn out of that experience? Or what is your takeaway from that experience? And those things, I'm not going to say are always worth it, but those are the things that we can hold on to and grow with.
Yeah, and we have to be more gentle with ourselves. Like sometimes you're not ready to hear that lesson at that time. You needed to go through other lessons to get to that step. And sometimes it takes you longer. Like let's say it's like, oh, but that person, got over the breakup, got married, have kids now, and I'm still single.
Mm,
Or that person quit their job, got another job, like and created their own company, blew up, and now they're Steve Jobs, whatever, right?
yeah.
And there's a lot of those, but people grow in different speeds. So I think that's really important too, to just understand that everybody wants different things and grow differently. And that's why we're in such a unique situation in, in our generation now, how we have the freedom. So many people have the freedom to do literally whatever they want.
Yeah. It can be really overwhelming to have all those options. I remember talking to one of my clients who was highly sensitive, and highly sensitive people it just means that you're very sensitive to any kind of stimulus kind of. And he was telling me that like going in the chip aisle gave him anxiety because there were so many different colors and so many different options, and he was like, "Ah, I don't know what to do." And I think that that happens to us now. Like we have so many options that it's like, oh God, what's the right choice? And I think what you and I are saying is maybe there isn't a right choice. Like maybe you just try stuff out and you
Yeah.
see what's going to work for you in your life and in your path.
That's a really good analogy if you bring it down, right? If you walk down the aisle, let's say you've never had chips before. Somehow you live, you're collecting berries somewhere in the corner of the earth. And you go show up at a supermarket, a modern day supermarket with aisles of chips, and you walk down, you go, oh my God, I've never had one. How do you know which one you like? Let's say your favorite color ended up being yellow with green stripes and blue dots. What bag with
Skinny
that?
pop popcorn. Oh, sorry.
And you open the bag and you try it and you go, this is disgusting.
Yeah.
It could be that reaction. So it's like, you don't know, you just have to try. And the journey is the thing that's going to make you stronger. It's so cliche to say that, right? It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And it's so true.
Yeah, I had that conversation, little twist here, with my sister recently about religion because my sister, we grew up religious, my sister's still religious, and she wanted to get a religious Christmas book for the kids, and she was like, "Are you going to be offended?" And I was like, "Why would I be offended?" And she's like, "Because I know this isn't like your religion anymore." And I said, "Well, I can still expose my kids to all the things and then they can choose what they want to believe. Like I don't care what they decide to believe. That's going to be up to them." And I wish that as people we were more like that with each other and with our children and just in general because everybody's got their own path to take and we judge everybody's experiences like, oh, they shouldn't have done this or they shouldn't have done that, but maybe they needed to do that. Like you were saying earlier, maybe there was some important reason that they needed to do that thing, and maybe there was some important lesson that they needed to learn in that.
Yeah. And even talking about the way you had children too, right? Alicia, like, I'm sure you didn't plan, right? You didn't go, when you were younger, when you're like 4 or 5, 10, whatever, everybody has that, oh, I'm gonna do the white picket fence, the white wedding dress, this huge wedding, blah blah blah. We had plans,
Yeah.
and your plan didn't really work out. Like you ended up you were dating Sebastian for about 3 months, right? 3, 4 months.
Yeah.
Guys,
This is like six. This is like 6 months.
6 months, and then oops, you're like, I forgot that birth control.
I wasn't even on birth control. I was just being bullish, Julie. Bullish.
So and then when you were pregnant, you were like, okay, and the decision really was, this is not my plan. Like
Yeah.
this definitely was not my, because you weren't certified at that time either, right? Like you were still trying to figure out what's going on, or like where were you in that place,
You mean like career wise?
career wise, life wise? How were you
No,
feeling?
I kind of had my career rolling at that point, but my two besties at the time both were like, "Oh shit, are you keeping it?"
Yeah, yeah, no,
I was 30 years old. I had
uh-huh.
my career rolling, and both of my best friends were like, "Oh God, what are we gonna do?" I was like, I in my mind, I was like, I'm too old to pass up this opportunity to have a child that I've always wanted. So I'm gonna keep this kid. And I also thought at the time that being a single mom was like no biggie, and I could do that if I needed to.
Yeah, and
So
you were
I was
like,
like, I'm just gonna keep this kid.
whether it's bad your life or not, right?
Right, yeah. And he asked me too, like when he and I finally talked about it, he said, "Well, it's kind of your decision. So what do you want to do?" And I was like, "Well, I can't imagine not keeping it." And he's like, "All right, then we're having a baby." And I was like, "Oh shit."
You're like, I didn't think you're, yes.
Yeah.
Were you nervous when you brought that up?
Oh my God, I was so upset. Yeah. I remember like I took the pregnancy test and I was just laying on the bathroom floor like, "Oh God, what am I
Like,
gonna do?" Like what is it's like a whole thing to wrap my head around.
that's a big,
Um, but yeah, and then there was the whole thing of like, is he just staying with me because I'm having his baby? And that was like a question in the back of my mind for a long time.
Oh, that would be a big mind fuck for me.
Yeah.
Oh, I would have been like, wait, does he love me? Wait, does he love me? Or does he feel obligated to be in this? Oh, that would be, how did you get over that?
I mean, I gave him lots of outs. I was like, you don't have to do this. We don't have to be together. Like, please don't stay with me for the baby. I practically begged him not to stay with me
Leave!
for the baby.
You're just short of saying, leave!
Yeah, basically. Um, and then I think just over time, I got more confident in our connection.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because I do think that we had a connection from the beginning. And I do think that we got really lucky that we had a connection like that from the beginning, and that um, we both wanted kids, which was also something that we got really lucky with. But we are not idiots, so we knew that that was going to also be a possibility. And I think both of us had already considered that that would be a possibility, and we were like, doing it anyways.
Ah,
I'm gonna roll the dice on this one.
but going back to the whole a certain fish, a certain weight on it, a certain height, whatever was it. It your plans kind of, the monkey wrench got thrown in your plans. But
Oh
look at
yeah.
your life, right? You didn't say, no, I need to throw this back until I find that fish, until I live this life I need to live. But you were like, okay, let's just roll with punches. Let's just go. And because you did that, you just relaxed. And of course you kept your boundaries, right? On like, okay, if he doesn't treat me this way, then I just don't want to be in it. And of course you kept those things
Yeah.
that you just kind of like, okay, let's just see how it goes. And look
Hmm.
how you are now.
Yeah, and I can give an even another example too, because after we had Liliana, I was like, okay, no more kids for him unless he marries me.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But then like time was rolling on and I was getting older, and I was like, okay, which is more important to me, having another child or getting married?
Uh-huh.
And I decided that I already had a good relationship, and we were doing well together as parents. So I was like, well, why would I put this stipulation on things? If I want to have another child and he wants to have another child and we're happy in our relationship, let's just have another child. And so we did.
Oh, that's cute.
And I let go of the marriage thing completely after that.
And you're like, go ahead. You're still here?
That's basically what it turns into. That's funny.
No, I've been around you, and yeah, definitely. You guys are such a great. I think you guys are great partners because you see life very similarly, which is crazy because it's a gamble that we all take. We don't really know because when you're first dating, it's only 5% of who you know each other until you're living with each other. You go through times when someone's hungry, someone's anxious, someone's tired, someone's stressed. You don't go through those in the beginning when you're in your honeymoon stage. So it's a
Yeah,
really risk whether you do it traditionally or you do it in this way, you know?
that's the truth. And I've told people now that I have perspective on things, that uh there are some things, number one, that you just don't know until you try. And even like psychotropics, for example, that's just one silly example from my work. But people will say like, okay, which medication should I try? I mean, there's some parameters that we can use, but you just kind of have to try them and see which one works for you. And there is no way to know. We do have a genetic test we can use, but the results are still like 50-50 whether or not it's going to work for you.
Oh,
So a
really?
lot of psychiatrists don't even use the genetic test.
And even outside of that, if you talk about like egg freezing, my sister froze her eggs, and one of my best friends, she's freezing her eggs now, and it's all luck, and they pump you up with a bunch of different types of, sometimes even testosterone, like estrogen, testosterone, but all these different things, put you on birth control, take you off of birth control, put you on a different kind. They do all this stuff to see how your body reacts, and then they don't even guarantee it. So,
Yeah,
but there's no guarantee in life, even when you're paying tens of thousands of dollars. There's no guarantee. It's just like, oh, here's money. Let's just see if you have a baby.
yeah. I know one of my clients went through like 4 rounds of IVF. I've watched some of my friends go through several rounds of IVF. that shit is rough. And even when you do get a good egg or a good couple of eggs, then you don't know how if they're going to fertilize well. And then once they fertilize, you don't know if your body's going to keep it or not. So there's so many different angles where things could go wrong. And I think what I was trying to say earlier is I don't know how anybody can promise anything forever, which is what we do when we get married. We promise forever. We promise that no matter what happens to you, I'm going to be your person. I'm going to be here for you. And it's very romantic and it's very cute. And I do like it. But can we really predict what's going to happen or how we're going to feel about what happens? No, we don't even know ourselves how we will react to any given situation, much less how we're going to be our entire lives.
Yeah, and we're constantly growing, whether people want to face it or not. We're constantly growing because we're constantly looking at different stimuli in life. So it's like, how do you react from that? Oh, what did I learn from that? What did I learn from that? And then you keep learning and you keep growing, you keep evolving. And 10 years from now, we're definitely not going to be the same person we are. So having the expectation of saying, oh, till death do us part, that's a lot of pressure. And then on top of that, I don't know. I feel like maybe Hollywood also, plays a huge role. And they go happily ever after, happily ever after, like happily ever after. That's crazy. And these actresses or even these cartoons, they're really young when the ending of that movie, like
Yeah.
in the 20s probably.
Yep.
20, and people, the life expectancy is what, 85, 90. My God, for 70 years, that's a lot of time.
Yeah. And, when it comes to sickness and death, I think a lot about a friend of mine. Her mom got early onset dementia, and her mom was like basically gone mentally for years and years. But her dad wouldn't even start dating the until she had actually passed away. And I mean, I don't know what I would do in that situation, obviously, but I do think that it's logical and reasonable to say, well, the person that I married is not here. So does it really matter if I started seeing other people? I mean, to me, that seems logical, but I don't know what I would do in that situation. I'm just saying to have, such a strict guideline, like, nope, I promised forever.
Yeah.
But you didn't anticipate that somebody was going to be mentally gone for years and years.
Actually, that reminds me of a couple that the wife had cancer, and but she, towards her the end of her life, she had cancer for a long time, like I think like 12 years or something. But towards the last 4 years, she couldn't do anything. Like she really couldn't do anything. And he started dating in those last 4 years. Maybe he dated 3 years into or something, right? And but he just kept it from her because he's like, why am I going to add more stress to her body, whatever. But people were judging him, and I was like, think about all the time he did spend with her. It's 12 years. He spent 8 years not dating other people, fighting with her, alongside her, whatnot. And then the last 4 years, when she couldn't really be the wife that she wants to be, right? Wanted to be. And so I think that, and people have needs. So I don't know. I didn't jump on that bandwagon of judging him because I just don't think that's fair.
Yeah. And I think anytime we judge, I think it's natural in us to judge, first of all, let's be clear about that. But I do think that none of us really have room to judge. Even if you've been in that situation, I don't know anything about that relationship that you're talking about, but like, what if they didn't really get along? They really didn't get along well anyways. They really didn't have a great marriage anyways. And now he's bound to this person who can't move, can't do anything. Like, I don't know. Maybe you're judging it from a place of this is my partner who I love, who I can't imagine living life without. But maybe that's not their situation. And we can't, that's why we can't judge, because we're looking at everything through our experience and not what a other person's experience might be.
Yeah, and the understanding that we could never see the other person through their experiences. Just going back to like the collection of experiences that we all have, of life experiences that we all have. I could never, even with you, right? Like I know you, we're friends. We talk about in depth with a lot of things. I can't really ever put myself in your shoes. I could try, but can I ever really do that? No, I don't know how it is to have your mother. I don't know how it is to have your sister, to be married to Seb, but whatever it is, right? So I don't know how that feels.
Yeah, and I think back in the day when I worked in rehab, clients would say to me, "Well, what can you tell me? You're not an addict. You've never been an addict." And I would tell them this analogy, like, okay, let's say that I was, and let's say I was addicted to the exact same drug as you. That doesn't mean that our experience will be the same. Maybe I can cold turkey quit it and never touch it again. And maybe that's not you. Maybe you need to go through several relapses to get there. So just because I am an addict still doesn't mean that we would have the same story, or that what worked for me is going to work for you. So even when you experience some of the same life experiences, you often have very different perspectives on it.
Oh, I love that. And that makes sense because when children of the same family, same parents, same household, they grow up and they go, how are those two people related? They're so different. We just, human beings are just different no matter, it's nature versus nurture, right? I think it's a little bit of nature, it's a little bit of nurture.
Yeah, there was a expert I heard recently who was saying no two children have the same parents because you're already a different kid and you're getting your parents at a different point in life. So
Girl,
you're you're not going to have the same experience with your parents because you're just different, and your parents might be different from when, if they have one when they're dirt poor and they have one when they have money, they're going to be different.
that's true. And also just having a second kid, it's like, oh, we're not as scared as the first time. The first time, oh my God, they did this. Oh my God, they did this. What do we do? Versus the second time, it's like, nah, she'll be fine.
Yeah, there was a commercial where the parents were like trying to get the baby to go to sleep, and they're like perfectly quiet and gentle, and then there's a kid crying, and the dad's like just grabbing the baby and getting in the shower. It's like, yeah, that'll be fine. So yeah, it is totally different for those reasons too. But then you have to consider that one child might be more difficult than the other, or one child might be particularly difficult because they're more like you. And so now
Ah,
you're like dealing with yourself on a regular basis, and that's not cool. So there's a lot of different factors that go into things, but the bottom line is you're right. We can't ever have anybody's same experience because we're not that same person.
no. And it's really hard to not judge people because we all judge. We all
Yeah.
really.
It's wired in us to judge.
And honestly, we have to judge because we have to judge whether or not we're gonna park in we're gonna pull up to a red light or we're gonna speed through that yellow. We have to make decisions. We have to make these judgments throughout our lives. So it's silly for us to believe that, oh no, I'm gonna stop judging when it comes to social issues, but I'm gonna start only judge when it comes to logical, practical issues. You can't stop and it's not a light switch. You're just gonna go. But I think understanding that, okay, my judgment is just mine is the healthiest thing to think.
My dad said to me once that it's fun to judge people because you don't really know their situation, you don't know their story. But when you start to get close to people and you start to learn more about them, then it becomes a lot harder to judge.
No,
And and I agree, like doing the work that I do, I pretty much like all of my clients, but like the people on the street that are cutting me off in traffic, fuck those people. I hate those people. Or the people at the grocery store that are taking forever with their fucking coupons. I can't stand those people. Now, if they came into my office and they were like, I'm an extreme couponer, I'd be like, that's so cool.
oh my God, who does coupons anymore? Where are you going?
I was just using it as an example.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so true. When there's a removal, like a degree of separation, you feel all of a sudden obligated, like, oh. And then when you know them, you go, oh my God, my empathy on like just okay.
Yeah, sometimes I think it is more fun to be distant from somebody because then it's like, yeah, look at that weirdo. What are they doing? Inconveniencing me. How dare they?
Funny. So summary of this whole thing is really, I don't know, it's really like, don't put that pressure. I feel like we want to be something, we want to be this perfect, we want to fulfill perfection. And I think it goes back to so many other topics we've talked about. But this idea of perfection, whether it comes in a man, it comes in a job, it comes in a child, it comes in a whatever, right? Or your own body. Like, it's okay. There's no such thing. It's just an ever revolving cycle of I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know how to describe this, but it's like it's a nonstop, it's a nonstop growing, evolving concept.
Yes.
So getting stuck at one may just makes you stuck kind of almost in time, makes you frozen in time in a sense, because like you were saying, I was like, how do therapy, like, what's the point of therapy? And you said trying to release them from their thought and having them move on, right? And I think if you hold on to the thought of this green fish and blue dots and purple stripes, if you hold on to whatever that means to you, it may stop you from growth in so many other places in your life.
Clients ask me all the time, like, hey, this thing is going on in my life. What is this okay? Is this okay that this thing is happening? And I'm like, well, first of all, it's happening. So yeah, there's nothing, I mean, we're not stopping it now. Even like people will be like, oh, I probably shouldn't be seeing this person, but I'm seeing them. I'm seeing them again tonight. And I'm like, okay, then you're seeing them, and like, I tell people we all have limits. You'll get to the point where you decide I'm done with this. And maybe you'll get there faster because we're talking about it or whatever, but maybe you won't. Like, I have clients that I've been seeing for a while and they're still in the same terrible relationship. They have not left yet. And as a professional, I would absolutely say you need to leave that relationship, and I probably do say it probably frequently. But but does that make the person just up and leave? No. And maybe they need to be there. Maybe I don't know what their life journey is. Maybe there's some reason either for them or for their partner or for some other unknown reason that they need to stay there right now.
Yeah, that's really true too. Very true.
So I think one thing that we said in a previous episode is accepting what is very important. And I think that we're just kind of reiterating that in a different way this episode. Like, hey, you didn't catch the fish with the green stripes and the polka dots and all of that. You caught this fish. So if you want to keep this fish and try it out and see if it tastes good, then do that. And if it turns out that fish isn't for you, okay, throw it out.
But there's also fear. Oh, you know what? That, and I am a victim of that, not victim, but I had this mentality for a long time. I grab that fish and I go, I want this fish. I want to try this fish. It's not the fish that I wanted, but if I spend time with this fish, am I going to lose the chance of catching the fish that I want?
I don't believe that. I don't know. I don't think that's how the universe operates. And maybe what do I really know about how the universe operates and how the powers that be like to play things out? I don't exactly know, I'll be honest, but based on what I've seen in the 15 years of talking to hundreds of people, I don't think that's how it works. I think that people get the chance to try things out and things happen when they're supposed to happen. At least that's the way it looks to me from the outside.
Yeah, I was really stuck on, I wanted to have my cake and eat it too. Like, I wanted,
Who doesn't?
oh yeah, I wanted to live the single life and date all these fish. Like, I want to go fishing. Let's go fishing. But my eye was on this other fish. But I also wanted to go fishing in case I found a fish that was better than the fish I have. So I did that for a while, and that doesn't work out. Time and effort is all split so many different directions, right? So you can't really on one. So it makes you have a bunch of, you do have a bunch of fish, but they're all superficial fish. Like, it's all like those weekenders. You just have a bunch of patience with a bunch of people, and it's all fun, but you don't actually go in depth in a relationship because you're having too much fun with too many people. So your time is up. You're just doing a bunch of great things.
Yeah, but I think you made a great point in that you did the weekenders for a while, and then it got old and you were like, I don't think I really want to do this anymore. So
That's
I think we all have, there are some people that probably could keep a lifestyle of weekenders, and that might be their thing, and that might be what they want to do forever. You just discovered that it's not for you long term, and
yeah.
that's okay. And, like we've said multiple times, you sometimes don't know until you try it. And I personally think it's better to go ahead and try things, like I really want to try the puffer fish that might kill you if you take a bite of it. Like,
Oh, I
I'm curious.
actually I've had it before. I've had it in Japan before.
Oh my God. Did you
Yeah.
did you die? Did your heart stop?
No,
What happened?
I'm still alive. Surprise, surprise. There's a twist to the end though. So they said that they're like, oh, if we cut it the wrong way, because they have to cut it when it's not feel like it being attacked. Because I guess when it feels like it's being attacked, it sends poison out, or whatnot, and that's why you die from it, because it's in the gills or it's in the skin.
Oh, okay.
So you have to kill it when it's calm or something. That's what I heard from the waiter. I don't know. So then they did that and they sliced it right there, like, well, not in front of us, but like they sliced it. They brought it over to us, and I swear it was still moving a little bit. And I was like,
Ah,
oh my!
ah.
And then sprayed some lemon on it, and then it started going. It started like shriveling and moving, and it was like, oh my God! He's like, eat it now, eat it now. You have to eat it while it's moving. We're like, oh my God!
Oh shit.
I'm just like, I'm going in my mouth, shooting it as fast as I can. Like, so I'm not enjoying it because I'm like, please don't move, please don't move.
Please, please
But
don't move. Please don't kill me.
but at the end, it was like a cool experience because you're just like super anxious the whole time.
That's hilarious. And so, yes, I want to try that and sort of roll the dice with it. And, I am a little bit more of a risk taker, and I own that. A lot of people are not risk takers, and so they're not even going to try the puffer fish. But that's okay. We all have our own journey, and we do with it what we think is best.
No. And what a great ending to that podcast today, Alicia. I love it.
Thank you guys.
Thanks
Tune
everyone
in
for
next time.